what you did. No, pale mlikuwa na mkutano. Okay, PCS, you can proceed. I hope you have the copy of the statement.
Yes, I do.
So you take us through the response.
Yes, I'll take you through, Madam Chair, so that hopefully we can adequately cover the issues raised. The first aspect, Honorable Chair and Senators, is that clarity was sought on circumstances surrounding the degazettement, including the historical background. So my response, which we have circulated, is that Capitol Hill Police Station was gazetted in 2011 by Gazette Notice number 3946 of 24th March 2011 under land reference number 209/10531, and it measures approximately 2.001 hectares, basically 2 hectares. The parcel is registered in the name of Permanent Secretary, State Department of the National Treasury, and it is he's holding it as a trustee for the National Police Service. The historical background to the present degazettement traces back to 2018, when Cabinet granted approval to allocate land that is currently occupied by Capitol Hill Police Station in Upper Hill area, Nairobi, to the African Trade Insurance Agency for the construction of its headquarters, and in 2021, the same parcel of land was allocated to St. John's Ambulance. So, these overlapping allocations, Madam Chair, were brought to the attention of the Cabinet through a communication from the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service to the Cabinet Secretary National Treasury and Planning via letter SHGN 3, Volume 1, in brackets 55, dated 3rd February 2023. In line with the recommendations made therein, the Cabinet approved that the 5-acre parcel, LR number 209-10531 in Upper Hill, Nairobi, be subdivided as follows. So basically there was an initial then movement in 2018 by the government then in 2018. Then the same then as a continuation, it was discovered that there was a double allocation to the police and to St. John's. So this necessitated a second cabinet consideration of this matter. Now, after that, the Upper Hill area, in line with the recommendations made, the cabinet approved that the 5-acre parcel B, LR number 209-10531 in Upper Hill and Nairobi, be subdivided as follows. 1, 2 acres to be allocated to the African Trade Insurance Agency, currently known as African Trade and Investment Development Insurance, ATD. And I have annexed a detail of ATD to the statement that I sent for the construction of its headquarters. The second 2 acres were to be given for the construction of the financial sector regulators headquarters. And the third was 1 acre to be allocated to St. John's Ambulance. St. John's Ambulance is just behind us. So this is really an exchange for Parliament to take what belonged to St. John's and to compensate St. John's by giving them another portion. So in effect, Parliament is a beneficiary of this transaction, because the land, which is St. John's Ambulance, is going to become part of Parliament for further expansion and utilization. Now, accordingly, the principal State Department of Internal Security and National Administration, via letter, again the reference is there, dated 20th June 2025, formally informed the Inspector General of the National Police Service of the Cabinet approval authorizing the transfer of the subject parcel to the African Trade Insurance Agency, financial sector regulators, and St. John Ambulance of Kenya, and directed that the necessary process of the degazettement of Capitol Hill Police Station be initiated to facilitate the transfer of the land to the designated institutions. Madam Chair, I want to put it on record that a TD is not a private entity. A TD is an entity owned by government. It's an institution of the African Union. Now, in the document, I indicate that the attachment that you have, that African Trade and Investment Development Insurance Agency operates as a multilateral Pan-African institution jointly owned by 38 shareholders comprising African sovereign member states and institutional corporate investors. Key shareholders: African member states founding and subscribing countries include Kenya, Angola, Togo, Benin, and the number grows. Holding the majority of equity, membership is open to all African Union member states. Now, who are the institutional investors in this thing? And multilateral banks. The entities that are institutional investors are African Development Bank, which again is owned by governments under the African Union. The World Bank Group, which again, Kenya is a shareholder, a member of the World Bank Group. Then we have the Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank. Kenya has shareholding in this. This is what we now call TDB. It used to be PTA, which was owned by African governments. Then it became TDB. They have their headquarters here already near Dennis Street Road. Then we have non-African private entities. And this is part of the partners of the African Union who then invest in Pan-African institutions. And I've given an example of Japan with the NEXI. This is an entity in Japan which covers guarantees and insurance, and it's part of and the other private entities. So by and large, the notion that a TD is a private institution is misleading. It is a Pan-African entity owned by government, sovereign states. Now, the second thing that comes up is the regulators, financial sector regulators. The minister gave an example. Who are the regulators? Insurance Regulatory Authority of Kenya, public institution. Who are regulators? We have another example that I can give very quickly. Within the capital markets, the government of Kenya is a custodian and shareholder of the capital markets. All right? You could go further and look at other regulators, Financial Reporting Center, and so forth. All these are entities scattered in different buildings. So by bringing them under one umbrella, which is the financial regulators, these are regulators that are public government, some of them established by acts of parliament. So they are not strangers to the institution. And as I've said, the St. John's ambulance was to make good what Parliament has taken from St. John's. So we have to give them an alternative. And they do provide a good service. You know, everybody in this room knows St. John's. Now, what is the legal framework? In compliance with the Cabinet Directive, legal advisory was sought by the Inspector General from the Attorney General via letter, and the reference is there, dated 15th July 2025, regarding the proposed gazettement of Capitol Hill Police Station. The Attorney General responded via their letter of 11th August 2025, providing a preliminary legal opinion that outlined the background to the matter, the applicable legal considerations, and the requisite safeguards to guide the gazettement and the land transfer process. Pursuant to this advisory, the Inspector General declared the subject parcel of land redundant for police use, paving way for the gazettement process. Madam Chair, let me go to the third aspect, the process and procedures for the gazettement. Having declared the parcel redundant for police use, the Inspector General communicated the position to the Deputy Inspector General, Kenya Police Service, in a letter dated 1st April 2026, directing the immediate commencement of a structured handover process for the station, including the following: transfer and proper documentation of all police records held at the station, relocation of all administrative and operational functions previously undertaken at the station, redeployment of officers to facilitate the planned gazettement, and fourth, subsequent surrender of the title to enable the transfer of the land to the designated entities. The Inspector General of the National Police Service has briefed my office that there will be no gap in the provision of policing services within the area. He has indicated that the policing responsibilities previously undertaken by Capitol Hill Police Station have been effectively assumed by Kilimani Police Station, Kenyatta Hospital Police Post, Golf Course Police Post, and Kemri Patrol Base, which will continue to provide adequate security coverage within the area. Finally, just to talk on the intended beneficiaries and justification for the transfer. The designated beneficiaries of the subdivided parcel and the justification for each allocation are as follows. The Africa Trade Insurance Agency, now it's called ATD, justified on the basis of the 2018 Cabinet approval, allocating land occupied by Capitol Hill Police Station in Upper Hill, Nairobi, to the agency for the construction of its headquarters to help drive the much-needed investment insurance capacity in Africa and Kenya, in particular, being the largest shareholder. The financial sector regulators to set aside for the construction of a consolidated financial sector regulators headquarters in line with the 2023 Cabinet approval on the subdivision of the land. And Madam Chair, as I have said, Upper Hill is literally becoming the financial capital of our economy, of our country. That is where the World Bank headquarters is. IMF headquarters is there. We have several other institutions, KCB, Equity, you name it. They have literally moved into that area. And there are many other financial institutions, either insurance or banks in that Capitol Hill. So it makes sense to consolidate and have all the financial regulators under one roof in Upper Hill. So that explains the financial sector regulators. And then the third, which I'll repeat again, is St. John Ambulance. The government of Kenya, for Parliament, has been acquiring this square so that it can become one entity to serve exclusively for Parliament and all other annexures of Parliament that need to be developed. And I think this is still in continuation. I believe somewhere along the line there's the protectorate building at the corner and all that. I think all these are lined up if they've not been taken, but I think they're lined up systematically to have a whole parliamentary square, and hence the exchange that comes between St. John's Ambulance and the Parliament, because we could not have just taken and give them no alternative. So this is the process. The gazettement and transfer process has throughout been guided by cabinet approval on subdivision, and to ensure the transfer to the three designated institutions proceeds in an orderly and lawful manner. So, Madam Chair, there is no private sector beneficiary in this transaction. All these are public entities, public institutions that this is facilitating.
Thank you, PCS. Senator Sifuna.
Just for my benefit, Waziri, you've explained, but you'll also tell us what this RTD do in terms of what they are. Now, Waziri, when I read Article 10 of the Constitution, it requires certain things whenever you make public policy decisions. I want to know from your understanding of public policy decisions, is the gazettement of a police station and the award or transfer of land that is public land to any other entity, public policy position that would require Article 10 to kick in. Because the community in Upper Hill, the business community in Upper Hill, came to my office and said there was absolutely no involvement in the community in that decision. Secondly, Waziri, if you can tell us the terms and conditions of that transfer, the terms or the conditions for use of that particular piece of land, what do they look like? What do they look like? Is it just a proper transfer where 2 years down the line the person who you have allocated that land can decide to sell off that 2 acres? So that we know, because I've seen conditions in other grants or transfers where you retain the public purpose of or the nature of the land. Also address us on the question of the value, because you have presented it as an exchange between St. John's and Parliament. What is the size of the plot that I see out there that St. John sits on? And how do you compare it to the value of 1 acre of land in Upper Hill? I think we all know what the value of land in Upper Hill is. Finally, on the financial sector regulators, could you be clear on who in whose name the title will be? Because you've mentioned various organizations there, financial sector regulators. Who is going to be the one holding the title for that piece of land that have been allocated to the financial sector regulators? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Abdul, any intervention?
Thank you, Chair. Prime Cabinet Secretary, I think I was following your submission, and you did mention that the African Trade and Investment Development Insurance is a body that Kenya has shares in, as well as the African Development Bank. Presume also Kenya has shares. In all these entities that are going to have equities in the land that we are providing, does it mean that Kenya's shares in these institutions are also rising because we are providing the land? I don't know what the arrangement is. I just want an understanding.
Thank you, Senator Kabo.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to know from the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and now that there has been a lot of hue and cry around that area because the police station is now going to be relocated, or there is no police station as at now, whether the public participation was necessary so that at least you can be able to acquaint the members of the public on what is going on.
Thank you, PCS.
Thank you. First of all, let me just say the issue of insurance, ATD, which is